Hey, I'm Victor Lund from the WAV Group, having a conversation with my good buddy Chris Heller, who just had a big announcement. He's tied up with the team at OJO and Movoto. This is a group that I've been friends with for a really long time. I guess it all got pretty intense when one of my best friends, Joel McIntosh, sold the business to OJO and joined their management team. But first of all, Chris, congratulations. That was a pretty good announcement. Before we kind of dig into the strategy of it all, like what excites you about this chapter? Because you've gone through a lot of different things in your life, being one of the top real estate agents, teams, Keller Williams Market Center owner, CEO of Keller Williams, and then I'm about, there's probably 15 other things we could talk about in between there, but like, wow, pretty cool.
It is cool. I mean, we've been 3 years in a really tough market, so to accomplish anything like this is no small feat. And it's not only have we been battling the market, but we battle giants on a daily basis, right? We're the fifth largest portal, and the other four are big multi-billion dollar, publicly traded companies. So for us to be able to find a home for the company and one that provides an exciting future is, accomplishes a lot of goals that we had.
One of the things that you and I have always had great synergies around is that you've been involved in transformation for a really long time. And, I can, as I was thinking about this call this morning, I was thinking a lot of our mutual friend, Ken Jenny,
Yeah.
and a lot of the things that he used to think about in terms of the overall structure of the business and how it's been changing. And we've certainly seen an enormous amount of change over the years, but you've always been an impact driven guy. You're like, well, how does this impact people, this thing called our industry, the people that I love? What do you see as the impact in this that sort of funnels into your strategic ambition?
Yeah. So it's funny you bring that up because one of the core things for me, if I'm going to spend time and energy on it, is it has to be impactful. And and if it's not impactful, it's not a big enough game to play.
Yeah.
So we think we've been impactful with what we've been doing in helping a lot of real estate teams and a lot of agents with their businesses and growing their business at the same time, helping consumers achieve their goals. When you match us with a mortgage company, and not just any mortgage company, but the right mortgage company, we can talk about why we think this is the right one. Um, when you match us with a mortgage company, it allows us to be more impactful in those things that we already do. So not only from a resource standpoint, having more resources, but to deliver to agents and teams, not just introductions to consumers that are, shopping online, but also now to introduce them to consumers that were shopping for mortgages and have spoken with a mortgage company or a mortgage professional and gotten pre-qualified and then be able to introduce them. Or for the ones that are coming to us from Movoto.com and being able to say to that consumer, if you're going to be financing, would you like to also be connected to our, a mortgage partner, and be able to introduce that consumer to an agent and a loan officer at the same time to help them with their real estate needs. That becomes a more seamless experience for all involved, right? The agent isn't setting up an appointment and meeting with a consumer to show them a house and then finding out, you know, whether they'll be financing or whether they can finance or any of those things. It's all happening at the same time, which is a better experience for all three parties, right? The agent, the lender, and the consumer. So I think from an industry standpoint, us being able to introduce more consumers and higher intent consumers to a larger number of agents and a larger number of loan officers is exciting and a step up from what we've been doing.
Yeah, I remember back in the 90s listening to Barry Diller talk about this, right? I think you were in the room. And then you ran what, loanDepot for a while. So, I've always seen this lead to close flywheel that we've been operating in real estate, which I think is changing pretty significantly today. or has changed. And, the mortgage industry's always tried to like stick their finger into that flywheel, which kind of looks like a fan. You stick your finger in and it gets chopped off. So, you've seen a ton of strategies kind of evolve where, lenders became paper brokers so they could get access to the data, and all of that stuff, has been, had some success or not success, depends on who you look at right now. But
Yeah,
we're
they've
seeing
had-
these
there's
guys saying, I'm not going to rent it anymore. I'm going to own it. Like I'm going to own Redfin. I'm going to own Movoto. I'm going to be inserted into that flywheel as an owner.
Yeah, like it Rocket had been at the game for a while, but they really said, no, we're gonna do this when they bought Redfin.
Mhm.
Zillow, when they acquired the mortgage company and launched Zillow Home Loans, said the same thing. Hey, real estate and mortgage need to be together.
Mhm.
And now Lower Mortgage with the acquisition of our company is saying the same thing. And it makes sense. It just makes sense on every level. So, and there's a difference, and I think what you're pointing out, Victor, is there's a difference between trying to partner and patchwork it together and do pieces of it versus just owning it all and owning the whole experience.
Yeah, I mean, so I get, I understand lower strategy in this, and I they're, well, I think they do like 4 billion in loan originations. In the world of mortgage bankers, they're not certainly the bigger one. Why did they make sense for Movoto? I mean, I would think Movoto being fifth in the market would go to Wells Fargo, Bank of America, some monster, but you guys
Yeah.
went to sort of a pretty stealthy operator, that's only a little bit larger than, say, the mortgage arm of Howard Hanna.
Yeah. So there's several factors. One was, and this is something that's important to John and I and everyone on the team, is like who we spend our time with is really important. And life's too short to not be on part of a
Yeah, I
team.
mean, all of you guys have already made your money. Like you're not
Yeah.
in this to get richer. You're already rich, but you want to live a better life, right?
Yeah. I know we could debate that last point, but yes, on the better life for sure. And we are capitalists, so we are in this to make money. So make no mistake about that. But
If I had your money, I'd give away mine. Just put it that way.
I don't know.
And I'm not poor.
The I think like Dan Snyder, one of the co-founders of Lower, and like, this is not a new company. They've been around for over 10 years. But they've been building quietly, but very effectively. Like they are great operators. They are been making moves in the last 6 months before they acquired us to really set themselves up to grow. They hired as the president of the company, a very smart and great operator who had been spent the last 15 years as the right hand to Glenn Kelman at Redfin. They've hired to grow the mortgage branches. The guy just, I don't know how long he's been there, less than 6 months. Who grew cross-country mortgage. They recently brought on a very, very talented and capable CFO from a publicly traded company. And now with the acquisition of us, we provide something to a mortgage company that's hard for them to do on their own, and that is what I think of as fuel, and fuel in the form of consumers. So we have the consumers that we can make offerings to of mortgage, and we already have been doing this. We've been sending those consumers.
Yeah, I mean, they've been renting access to that. Every mortgage company's been renting access to that, right?
Right. But now they can own that. So now instead of consumers, finding out, what they qualify for or their credit score on our site and ending up at a lead aggregator or at a mortgage company, some other mortgage company, Lower is going to be able to own that experience. And then, all the relationships that we have with agents and teams, from a consumer standpoint, every consumer who's had a really good experience or a bad experience in real estate, it was a function of who they dealt with. And when a consumer has a top agent and a top mortgage professional and top people involved, the likelihood of their experience being really good is very high. And so we'll be able to control that. And Lower, another important thing about Lower is that in their DNA is their retail mortgage operation, right? They have right now over 40 branches and across the country. They do have a call center operation, which will be very key to the growth of what we do, and especially with the mortgage first consumers that want to just,
Oh, hold on a second.
Yeah.
You guys aren't screwing up your island call center thing, are you?
No.
Okay.
Our
I know you wouldn't even say it if it was happening, but
Island call center, our team down there are not licensed mortgage professionals. So we will still keep them busy. But we'll, for consumers that let's say they want to refi, they want to see what they can qualify for. The most efficient way to handle those traditionally is to get them to a mortgage professional in a call center versus a retail loan officer who's out in the streets, who's busy meeting with real estate agents and building their business that way. We wanted to find a company that had both and could grow both, because what we have can help grow both of those channels.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys sort of pioneered the whole notion of when a consumer asks a question about where they should live or a home that they want to buy, you get them instant satisfaction. And, we had done a tremendous amount of work researching the problem of what happens to a lead in real estate years ago, and it really hasn't changed. Most
It hasn't changed. There's been
50% of them don't get answered ever. And of those that do, it's more than a day later that somebody gets back to you. And you guys sort of made that, you fixed that right away. You're like, we're going to give you the answer and we're going to hot link you right into a real estate agent who knows the most about what your question is. And now it sounds like, the other question is not where do I live, but how much can I afford? I saw this in the press release and that kind of sent off a light bulb for me. So that same like horrible experience of saying, I'm interested in getting information about a home loan, went into this horrible trap that led to nowhere and just created frustration and a bad experience for consumers. So it seems like if you're marrying what you did with Movoto to what they want to do with providing those like live interactions immediately to consumers who are asking about what they can afford or how can they get this loan or whatever, that seems like a pretty good marriage.
It is. I think it's the optimal. When I joined the company here 5 years ago full time, from the very beginning, I said, hey, the best place for our company is to be married with a mortgage company, and then again finding the right one. Great leadership, great operations. We're coming in before they've already become a giant. And it's much more satisfying to help a company become a giant, that is to join a giant, and maybe get lost in the bureaucracy of the company, or not be as a critical of a component to the company. And look to Dan and Adam, the president, to their credit, they're taking a big swing, right? They're to your point, you would have thought that the companies that would have been battling to own us would have been some of the big ones, and there certainly was a lot of interest, but these guys stepped up, and they stepped up in a big way, and so that just shows you how serious they are about making this successful.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a fork in the road. Zillow and Zillow Home Loans went one way. Rocket and Redfin went that way. And then the other three that were sitting there in the top 5 are Homes, you, and Realtor.com. And you just went that way.
Yeah.
So now it leaves Homes and Realtor.com going in a completely different direction. There's still the come to us if you're a mortgage company and we'll rent you access to this audience, right?
Yeah. No, and we could say the same thing about the mortgage industry, right? So we have Rocket, Zillow Home Loans, and now lower mortgage have all gone in a very definitive direction. And the rest of the mortgage companies are probably going, okay, what's our strategy?
It's their oh shit moment. Yeah, I mean, now one of the things that I was always quizzical about, at least, or whatever, is that, our research indicates that that a lot of the consumer portals all live at the top of the funnel, which is why a lot of mortgage companies didn't have a great experience at converting a lot of customers. We know that in real estate, we did all of this research. We looked at all of the consumer activity of a huge audience across 50 of the largest real estate brokerage firms in America, and found that their lead to close timeline was like over 350 days.
Yeah.
At the top of the funnel to when they transact is a year, which is a world away from the idea of an advertiser saying, I want to, I want to get a lead that closes tomorrow, right? That's what the advertiser expects. What the consumer is saying that, when I come into this world, I'm probably not going to transact for a year.
Yeah,
So you sort
or
of rationalize the top of funnel strategy at Movoto with the notion that they want to close. I mean, they're obviously nobody's doing any repurchase business or refinance business right now. Mortgage is all about purchase.
it's
And
all about purchase right now.
yeah,
But here's what happens. Like in the previous, iteration of what we were doing and other companies were doing, a mortgage company would get a consumer, off their marketing from a site like ours, wherever. And if they had good operations and skilled loan officers, they would get that consumer to commit, to get them pre-qualified, pay for their credit reports, upload their bank statements, and all those things. And then that consumer would go out into the world. And when they went out into the world, they undoubtedly would get connected to a real estate agent. And the consumer would say, hey, I've already gotten pre-approved by ABC Mortgage. And the agent goes, great, you should probably get a second opinion. Let me introduce you to my preferred lender. And here's why he's my preferred lender, because they always close on time and trustworthy, and they'll give you the straight scoop, and there won't be any speed and switch and blah, blah, blah.
you were that guy. You were the ones telling customers that. Yeah.
Yes, my script was a little more direct, but and so it made it really hard for mortgage companies to get purchase business online, because they didn't have control over the whole experience. When you now change that dynamic, and you have a partner real estate agent or team who's been matched with a specific loan officer in the field, in their market, who on these consumers saying, hey, you guys, you're a team, or gals, you're the mortgage professional, you're the agent, here's the consumer. Now you have not only more effective way of helping the consumer, but also it's more effective for the agent and the loan officer, right? Because they're working together in tandem versus like against each other, which is often the dynamic and with online leads and where they end up.
Yeah, I had the gracious opportunity to speak to the Realty Alliance firms and the Future of Real Estate, which are the largest Keller Williams firms, in the last couple of weeks, and just kind of talking about like the kind of team of agents that you guys have a network of agents. I think Place has a network of agents, and obviously Zillow has a network of agents. And I kind of told the brokers, I said, in a way, I believe they have better agents. They have super agents that you don't have, because they have leverage over these agents to say, listen, if you don't do these things, it's a privilege to be part of this group. And if you don't do these things, we're going to revoke that privilege, because we have these high standards. And there's 2 million agents that would love to be part of this group. You have to perform. And so you and Zillow are kind of in place, or in this unique position that traditional real estate brokers aren't in. And, I don't know where Redfin stands in that. They're a brokerage with employees, sort of. They have independent contractors too. I don't really know what their performance standards are. What we found with Redfin agents is once they learn how to sell real estate, they go where they can get paid more.
Yeah, which was one of the challenges that they always had. And now we really don't know because, we don't know exactly what the integration plans are, for Rocket and Redfin and what will they continue doing? What will they not continue doing? What will they change? But the other advantage that we have over brokers is the brokers pool of agents is just the ones under their brand. Companies like ours or place that you mentioned, we're broker agnostic, so we can have the best of the best from all the brands that we partner with, and that's a big advantage too.
Yeah, it's a reality of the distillery, right? It's like I can go get vodka from any distillery and get the product that I want, but unfortunately that distillery has got as many bad bottles as good bottles when it comes to agents, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you just go get the choice stuff.
I'm not as schooled on vodka distilleries, but I know it holds true in our industry.
So yeah, I mean, so how do you think that this is going to change the lead landscape overall?
Look, there's some I think well, my mind's going a bunch of different directions. So
Sorry, bro.
we're-
I don't mean to do that to you.
Yeah.
That's the way I work.
No, but hey, good questions cause good conversation. So these are good questions. From like in our world, and then I'll take a broader view. It means that we're gonna be looking for teams and agents that we can match and are willing to be matched with our loan professionals. And so there may be some changes there. There may be teams that have a joint venture or own a mortgage company, and they may not be a fit for us anymore. Or there may be, different scenarios. Or we, I'm going to say instead of may, we will come out with some things that we think will be exciting for teams and agents that would benefit them not only from the introductions but through other parts of the relationship. And so I think there'll be some changes there, like in how we partner and who we partner with. I think if we take a broader view, there's going to be a lot more merger and acquisition activity this year. Like it's already been pretty fast and furious, and it's not going to stop. And I think there's a increased focus on the race for getting consumers. And I think part of that's highlighted by the fact that when there's fewer transactions become really important, and finding more consumers that are going to be transacting is what everyone's looking for. The ability that we have and some of the others have is finding them, before someone else, and that's where everyone's going to be racing to.
Well, you're already number 5, so that's a good spot to be. We know people use a lot of different sites, so hopefully your value proposition is compelling. But one of the things that that's always interested in me is like the people that are in the network for Movoto and OJO, like the economics of the commission sharing are different. I don't know anything about how the economics of commission sharing are different when you're giving a lead to a loan officer within a mortgage company. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Just because I'm stupid.
Yeah, really. So we, as a company, before this merger, we were a licensed mortgage broker and had a licensed mortgage brokerage in like 40, I don't remember if it's 43 or 46 states.
Real estate and mortgage, right?
Yeah, real estate in 50 states, mortgage in like 46 states.
Mhm.
And so we were able to, benefit from, sharing revenue and monetizing leads on both sides, real estate and mortgage. Now that we are the mortgage company, it just makes it easier to do things, right?
Mhm.
Because there's, from a compliance standpoint and a RESPA standpoint and other things, there's certain things that when you are the provider that are easier to do than versus when you're a partner or partnering. I think there's a lot of revenue opportunity in mortgage, and when purchase business picks up, which it will at some point, we can't stay at an all-time low all the time. And and we can't,
One
and
hopes.
yeah, I know. Is this the new reality?
Yeah.
And if it is, we'll adapt and figure out how to
Yeah.
work with this new reality. But and at some point, rates will come down to a level to where refi business starts to pick up. So there's a lot of revenue opportunities there. But when there's a reason why, Zillow started Zillow Home Loans, and there's a reason why, Rocket that spent, $1.75 billion to buy Redfin. For these companies and sites like ours to truly reach their optimal level of monetization, you need to have revenue from mortgage and real estate. And the nice thing about that is we can do that, but not at the expense of the consumer experience or the agent experience or the loan offer experience, but to the benefit of all their experiences. So it makes it a really easy business to feel good about and to feel good about being part of.
So, when I look at companies, I try to study, pretty deeply into their organizations. And one of the things I've always explained about a real estate company that a lot of people are beginning to learn about, they're called Compass, is that Robert Refkin has a business partner that very few people understand, and his name is Ori Allen, and he was one of the co-founders of Twitter. And he is pretty sharp on technology, has been for a long time, and probably has a few good ideas that he's sharing with his partner. You guys now have Adam Weiner on your board, and that guy probably knows more about scaling traffic than anyone. How do you think that's going to impact Movoto? I mean, do you see yourself going from 5 to like 3 pretty soon, or like what do you see there?
I don't know about pretty soon, and I don't know how to define what pretty soon is, but I think Adam does bring a great skill set and a great intellect, and that's one of the things we were excited about. Like having his experience and his knowledge about online traffic, about portals, about what they accomplished for the 15 years he was at Redfin is a great thing for us to have and to be able to partner with. And we are looking forward to the impact that he'll make in that part of the business. He's already making a big impact on the lower side and helping with their operations and streamlining things and creating more efficiencies and getting them ready to grow. I think there's certainly things that he will be spending time on that will help Movoto.com start to take an unfair share of the market, which is something that will be fun to be a part of.
One of the blind spots that I'm working on, and I've invested pretty heavily in this, like investments in Homeowner AI, in Move Guru, in iGo, whatever, is this whole notion of homeowner for life or customer for life and data as an asset. Like I truly believe in this stuff. It's inconceivable to me how real estate agents and lenders go back to the public well every time they're looking for new business and ignore every customer that they've already built this solid relationship with. Do you guys see, cycles of opportunity and just staying connected with the customer over a period of time rather than just like do the trade, drop them, move on?
100%.
Nobody's doing it.
Our goal is not just to be a bigger, better mortgage company or a bigger, better portal. Our goal is to become, really a home ownership platform. One of the challenges that others have is in a real estate transaction, the consumer is touched by a lot of different companies, right? Real estate, mortgage, title, home inspection, home warrant, like you name it, like long list. And after the transaction, they're all trying to pull out that consumer. Like, hey, we want to do business with you again. And some of them do it well, and to your point, some of them do it very poorly. But when you can control more of the transaction, and be able to provide more of the home ownership experience, not just during the transaction, but ongoingly, then it becomes really exciting. And there's a few companies that are working on that.
I'm
Zillow.
about to go buy that domain name ongoingly. I think you nailed it there.
Yeah, there you go. All right, stop the recording. Um, um, the I think the ability to create products and services for someone not only during the transaction, but once they own the home, and to be that source for them. We have a lot of assets, and I, without sharing the whole vision, but we have a lot of assets that will serve us well to be able to provide that consumer with things that they need on an ongoing basis, not beyond the purchase or sale of their home.
I love it. I think that's so important, and I'm not surprised that you're already thinking about it. You already have like plans in place to do it. It's weird. Like, if you look at everything that's happening geopolitically, and then, this new invention called AI and super intelligence and how that's changing the world. What cycle do you think we're in right now? Like, are we in a consolidation era, a renaissance, something entirely new?
I think we're
Is everything, is this whole structure going to completely change in the next 24 months?
It's very possible. And I think if we narrow it to our industry, like thinking about the whole world gets a little daunting. But if we look at our industry, I think both are happening simultaneously, like a period of consolidation and a renaissance period. And that's like, even saying that's a weird thing to get your mind around, like, because those things don't usually go together. But that's what's happening now, whether people are aware of it or not, or they see it or not, or feel it or not. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so inspired by, Sequoia and Altman and these people, just for having the genius of saying, we're going to give super intelligence to every human on the planet. And we think it's our obligation. For whatever people get for free, or what people pay $20 for, or even $200 for, I mean, they're getting literally 10 or $100,000 of value from ChatGPT and all of their cohorts. And it's just stunning to me how quickly people are jumping on it. I mean, the adoption curve of AI is superior to anything we've ever seen before. And I don't think we can even understand or fathom what change will be. But let's switch off that for a second. I want to get to something, maybe a little more gritty. So, I have always held the real estate broker in the center of my heart through all of the work that I do with MLSs or the technology companies that serve the broker and agent. I really feel that broker is critical and important. And, they look at these things like, Zillow, Movoto, like all of the portals is saying, well, you're taking our data as an asset and building this incredible company around it. What if I were advising brokers today, what should I tell them about this deal with Movoto and Lower?
So from a broker's perspective, they're battling, they're in a battle with multiple fronts, and one of the fronts is providing value to their agents. A good culture, training, a great brand isn't enough anymore. And there was a time where it was, and you could win on that if you were really strong on one or multiple of those areas. The agents now need and are demanding and want, I think, two things. One is they want something that'll help them grow their business. They want introductions, they want leads, they want that. And then they want either companies that can do things for them, or technology that can do things for them, especially the things that they don't like to do or aren't good at doing, or don't want to do. And so from a broker standpoint, making sure that their agents are, so if I owned a brokerage, and I had top agents, I'd be saying, hey, here's a list of companies that you should be partnering with. You should be partnering with a Movoto or a Lower or this company or that company, because it'll help you grow your business. And as a broker, I want my agent, if my agents aren't producing or growing, they're at risk. And they're always, and everyone's at risk, but they're at a higher risk of going somewhere else to someone else that can help them do those things. So I think from a broker standpoint, they should be viewing everything that's happening as an opportunity, not as fearful or I don't like this, or this may not be good for my business. Like, what do you need to do to make it good for your business? What do you do to make it good for your agents? And because you can't fight, evolution. You can't fight transformation that's happening with the speed at which technology is causing it. And you also have to pay attention to consumer behavior and his human behavior based on, everything that's happening in technology, and making sure that you're, pushing that, not trying to hold back or stop those things from happening.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. So just finally, kind of to wrap it up here, and thank you for being so gracious with your time and answering my crazy questions. What do you see happening sort of in the next 6 months? What should we be watching for? What should brokers and MLSs be watching for as change drivers in the near future between now and say Christmas?
Yeah, I think so. All right, so from a brokerage and MLS standpoint, there's going to be a lot more consolidation. There's going to be a lot more technologies coming on that will change things. I have a friend who's just built technology for brokerages to allow their agents to get questions answered 24/7 that would normally take getting hold of the broker or the broker of record to do that. Technologies like that just create more efficiency, more effective, more value. So I think whether I'm running an MLS, running a brokerage of any size, I'm looking at, okay, where are the things that I can leverage to bring more value, either directly to my agents or to consumers indirectly through my agents. And then the other thing is just like, all right, where else is there going to be consolidation, or what else should I be looking at? Should we be, combining with someone else to have a 1 + 1 = 3, versus, continue on our own.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Chris, again, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and everything you had to share today.
Thank you, Victor. Appreciate you.
Yeah.